Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this third presentation on the topic of scholarships. I'm Cesar Lopez, Director of Education here at Hope, with you all today for the virtual college fair with Univision this year. Today's presentation is called Scholarships 101, the search for the right opportunities for you as a part of this year's programming. This presentation will have 5 quick and easy sections. First, covering the basics of scholarships, things that you really need to know and really kind of pound into your brain so that you can navigate the rest of this process. 2, very briefly helping you figure out the right questions you need to ask yourself so you can build something called a student profile. 3, we'll quickly highlight what's called scholarship search engines and other resources like guides and opportunities available to you. 4, very quick and easy things you need to really take into consideration when you're building your list of scholarships, regardless of what year you're in your high school experience. And then 5, we'll go into depth about amazing opportunities that are available to you as a high school student or recent graduate. And we'll mention here with an emphasis what the citizenship or immigration status requirements are for a few of these opportunities. So, the basics. This portion is on understanding the different sources of scholarships, the types of scholarships available, deadlines, requirements, and the selection processes you might encounter through your journey. Before we truly start with the rest of the presentation, let me revisit and introduce to you a couple of terms you need to know. One, we've covered already cost of attendance, right? This refers to everything you need to pay for as a part of your college education. This will be tuition, room and board if you're choosing to dorm somewhere, board being a reference to your meal plan. This could be textbooks and fees, material fees, right? This could be transportation costs, things like that. Enrollment status. Here it specifically refers to whether or not you are a part-time student, a full-time student, and if you are meeting any specific requirements a scholarship opportunity has for you in terms of the number of classes, number of credit hours, or your enrollment status at a particular college or university. Here we'll revisit the difference between scholarships and grants, right? They're very similar in concepts. Scholarships tend to be based on merit or need-based categories. Grants tend to be actually available in both, whether they're merit or need-based, tend to be in smaller amounts. We'll cover here the difference between merit-based versus need-based opportunities, whether it's something based on your academics or based on financial necessity, to name a few examples. We'll cover what the difference between a full tuition scholarship is, which covers the entire cost of your classes, versus a full ride that covers the entire cost of your classes, room and board, any materials or book fees you might have, or any other like student associated fees. And here's something that we won't really get the chance to dive into, but it's really important for you to understand as you start your scholarship and college search is the difference between colleges that allow something called scholarship stacking versus that participate in scholarship displacement. I'll take a moment here to go into this concept. An assumption for all of us, including me when I was in your shoes, is that I could apply to as many scholarships as possible and I can rack in all that money, right? And then I could just keep it all, use it all, and then probably get a check cut back to me for anything that's left over. That's possible at some universities. It's not possible at all. Colleges that allow you to stack federal, state financial aid and any of their scholarships on top of any other scholarships you apply to. So if you apply to like scholarships your company offers or scholarships your local community organization or parent teacher association offers you, right? Scholarships will colleges will allow that engage in something that's called scholarship stacking. They allow you to maximize as much money regardless of the funding source as you can possibly, right? They typically do this if they have higher higher total cost of attendance. Universities that engage in something called scholarship displacement basically have policies that cause your federal and state and even university aid that's based on financial necessity to lower, completely diminish, or just be removed from a financial aid package if you make a lot more or even just significantly more within the total cost of attendance. So, for example, you might apply to so many scholarships, you think you're going to get a cut check for $10,000? Probably not. In certain colleges, what that actually does is it'll reduce whether or not you get the federal Pell Grant, whether you get any state grants based on financial necessity, whether you get any grants from the college or university based on financial necessities. This might also impact whether or not you get the full amount of an academic scholarship at a college or university, right? Because they're wanting to maximize as much money that you're receiving outside of the university or the government so that they can then maximize the amount of funding that they have available to award to other students, right? Because some of those opportunities are on a first come, first serve basis or on a limited funding basis, right? So some of you might get 100, some of you might get $400 of a particular scholarship. But if someone's racking in an additional $15K in outside money, they'll want to lower theirs just a tad bit. Sometimes it might be significant depending on their policies, and then disperse the money that was removed, right, into other student accounts who might need it. I know, it sucks. You might be like, why would they do that? Why would they mess with my life like that, right? Unfortunately, those are just policies you'll have to be attentive to as you're building your college application list or you're applying to scholarships, because this is where things get trippy. We'll cover this in a second, but some scholarships give you the money directly. Some of them send it to the college, right? Some colleges require you to report all scholarships you get that's not coming from them or the government, right? So they can keep a track of that. Some colleges are a little bit more lenient on what opportunities you have to report. It all just depends on what each college or university says. If you have any questions or doubt, recommendations are in order. Check out their financial aid page. If they have a specific page on scholarships, check out that. If they have none of that information available to you, call them up. Call up your financial aid office to ask them specifically, do you engage in scholarship stacking or scholarship displacement? There are a few states in the US where scholarship displacement is not allowed, so college and universities cannot move around your financial aid package if you get an excess in awards. But in most states, scholarship displacement is completely legal. It is a sound practice for a lot of colleges and universities to maximize the amount of funding that they have to give to students. So now that you understand those terms, right? One term that was not in there because I'm going to cover into more depth is something called scholarship providers. It's a very general, very broad term that simply refers to who in the world is giving you the money to help you pay for the college, right? This can refer to a variety of people. So it's always important to know where you're looking for your scholarships, who's giving you your scholarships. Like we covered in the previous presentation, there are state financial aid programs that offer scholarships. These fall under state aid programs that offer their eligible residents help to reduce their college educational costs. This can include the Hope Scholarship, the Zell Miller Scholarship here in Georgia, the North Carolina Education Lottery Scholarship, or the North Carolina Need-Based Scholarship, just to name 4 examples out of all the states in the US, right? In addition to them, there is the institutional scholarships or university-specific scholarships. These are offered by a college or university to a prospective applicant that has been granted admissions. So you typically find out if you're eligible for these scholarships after you've been offered an offer of admissions or upon receiving that offer of admissions. Not that many colleges tell you before you're offered a spot in their class if you're going to get a scholarship or not. Some of them do to entice you to apply. They have your basic information. So they're like, you have like a 99% chance of getting it, right? But that's not guaranteed until you get your offer of admissions and get that financial aid package. Some of these opportunities, and this is where it's really important to pay attention to your research and focus in on your time and energy to make sure you have all the information you need, is that some of these scholarships will be automatically granted to you. So as long as you get your application in on time, as long as you get your FAFSA in on time, as long as you get any other requirements in on time, the minute you get your offer of admissions or the minute you get your financial aid package, a part of those is the scholarship or grant from the college they automatically give you. This might be a scholarship that is renewable, right? Meaning that you might be able to like apply again, or it's automatically renewed for the year after your first year for all 4 years, for example. Or it might be a one-time scholarship that you won't be eligible for again, or that you'll need to apply for again. Some colleges, though, they don't make it simple. They make it simple on themselves, but not necessarily on you. So they'll have their college application deadlines. Might be early decision, might be early action, might be regular decision, rolling admissions, whatever it may be. They'll have their deadline for FAFSA, so they can start building your financial aid letters. And then they might have a whole separate deadline for scholarships. And if you don't do your research, you might get your application in, you might get your FAFSA in, you might miss out on a lot of money that's available to you only in your first year as a first-time applicant, but you miss out on it because you didn't do your research to find out what the deadlines are. Sometimes in your emails, your inboxes, right, they get bombarded with so much information. You might miss out on a communication of them telling you, right, that here's this deadline. Other times they don't proactively tell you, right, and you have to do the work to find those deadlines. So it's always best to call them up or email the financial aid office if you just cannot find this information on their website. But first start on the financial aid page, then scholarship page. Outside of the state government and the university, you might be able to get scholarships from foundations, organizations, or even businesses. These are scholarship providers that are awarding money to students upon whatever expectations or conditions that they're establishing. So we'll go into those in a few right? But using myself and our organization as an example, we offer something called the Hope Legacy Scholarship. That's specifically for students who are seniors, high academic achieving students who fill out our application, and as long as they're members of our after school program, they're eligible for it. So we are an organization that falls under this category, right? And now our expectation is that you're a member, got good grades, you fill out the essays. But other areas that students sometimes just don't know, there are scholarship providers, tend to be churches, PTAs, which are parent-teacher or parent-teacher student associations. They might offer you small opportunities. But one of the things you need to work on throughout this process is understanding that you might think it's a waste of time applying to a scholarship that's $500, but $500 could be the reason you have enough to register for classes, or be the reason you have enough to pay for your college textbooks or pay your enrollment deposit. Like $500, even $100 can make or break what threshold you're at in terms of paying for your college education. So don't discount the small opportunities just because you're aiming for big dollar or less dollar scholarship. Now that you know the basic terms and who the scholarship providers are, it's important to know the types of scholarships that are available out there. There's a lot. Like even on the screen, this is not all of them, right? There are some that are need-based, which means it's the state government, the university, or an organization that's trying to say, let us know and understand more about your financial situation, and we'll try to award you as much as we can, as much as we have the capacity to do, to offset your financial necessity. Some colleges meet 100% demonstrated financial need. If you look up that little phrase in your state, you might be able to find a couple of colleges in your state that offer you that opportunity, right? And if they do, they'll meet you at where you're at, and you'll just be responsible for whatever they believe after their formulas and algorithms kind of output a number that you can pay for out of pocket or get covered by federal or state financial aid. But they tend to be based on financial necessity. All the other categories tend to typically fall under something called merit-based. They're based on you meeting a set of expectations, right? The largest or most well-known of these categories is our academic scholarships. Scholarships that you specifically get because of your GPA, because of your SAT or ACT scores, or because you are pursuing a particular college in a university, or a major at a university, right? So if you, for example, are applying for a business degree or a business major at a particular college, and their business program has scholarship opportunities, it might be like, because you're applying for our program, here's a competitive scholarship that you can apply to, right? That would typically fall under academic. There are some scholarships that are demographic in principle, in terms of like, there are scholarships specifically for Hispanic and Latino students. That does not mean you get the scholarship just for being a Hispanic or Latino student. It just means that that's the main motivating factor behind the scholarship, but there still might be some aspects of it that are academic, or that are need-based, that are leadership or community service. So any of these can be intertwined, right? There are some scholarships specifically for athletes. So, for example, D1 or Division I schools might be able to offer you as a potential athlete, as a recruit, full tuition or a large scholarship to help offset your costs of education, right? Smaller division schools like D3 might not be able to offer you that, but they would incentivize you through academic scholarships or other ways. There are scholarships out there for your leadership experience or your capacity in certain types of leadership styles. So servant leadership, for example. Some of them might specifically be like for students who participate in community service and can convey why they do that. You might be able to compete for a scholarship. Then there are simpler ones. If you are a student who is artistically inclined, musically inclined, right? There are creative scholarships out there. If you can submit your projects, your portfolios, you can compete other students who have similar interests and get scholarships for your skills. This includes talent and hobbies. And then just broadly, like throwing it out there are scholarships out there for if you're left-handed. That's so random. But there's literally opportunities out there and millions of dollars that go unused because students don't know how to focus in their time and energy on the opportunities that fit their student profile, that fit their capacity in terms of like what's already on your work plate, on your plate, or what other responsibilities you already have going on. Initial eligibility is one of the first things that you need to be able to understand, because this really helps you understand whether or not the opportunities are worth your while in the moment you're doing your research. You need to figure out, one, what requirements do they have surrounding an admissions decision or projected enrollment date. Some are going to explicitly ask you from the start for proof of an offer of admissions or proof that you've already enrolled in a college. Others don't ask you for that proof right off the bat. They'll be like, apply, shoot your shot, Once you get enrolled and you start your semester, before we send you the money or send the college the money, we'll want that proof, right? So they give you a couple months to make your decision before they disperse the money. Some, though, will want it as a part of their the first part of their selection process. 2, some scholarships have geographic location or residency status requirements. So, for example, some scholarships are specific for the students of California, some specific for the students in Georgia, North Carolina, or New York, right? If you're not in those areas, if you're not graduating from a high school in those states, or you're not going to college in those states, that opportunity might not be available to you. On the other end, though, there are scholarships that are national, that are applicable to any student in the US or any student across the globe that meets the requirements that they're setting forth, right? So you just need to pay attention to those details. Some might be more specific, like state scholarships, right? Who'll ask you to confirm or go through separate processes to confirm if you are considered a resident of said state or region for the purposes of their program, right? 3, some are going to be very explicit with the level of educational attainment you have. Some very broadly say current high school student. That is broad enough that you as a junior could possibly apply, right? And secure a scholarship money well before the start of your senior year. It just gets dispersed like closer to the start of your college semester. Some are going to be explicit and say high school seniors or high school seniors in their spring semester. Some will just be like recent graduates can also apply. This means if you graduated a semester ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, consider yourself eligible. Some also then say high school or GED program graduates. So if you didn't graduate from a high school, right, or a traditional high school or homeschool program, but you have your GED or a high school equivalent, right, you could be open to the opportunity. Some might even be more stricter, are like incoming students or current college students, right? In which case you have to wait until the start of your freshman year or leading up to your freshman year in college, or once you're already in college to be able to apply. 4, this is really important. Make sure you're a part of the targeted applicant pool if they have one. So this, for example, it's based on immigration status, gender, ethnic or racial groups, financial need, disability, athleticism, or talent. Later on, we're going to highlight some opportunities that are specific for undocumented students or students who are ineligible non-citizens. If you're a U.S. student, you might meet all the other requirements, academic graduation requirements. You might be of Hispanic Latino background, but you are not who they're targeting the scholarship for. They're targeting it and making it available to undocumented students, right? So you want to make sure you're applying to the opportunities that are truly relevant to you. If you identify as male, live through the world and experience the world as a man, right? You wouldn't really want to apply to an all-women's college or a scholarship opportunity for women in STEM, right? It's not a targeted, the scholarship opportunity is not targeted to you. 5, immigration status. This is where scholarship opportunities are very obvious with the requirement or are so vague you have to call them up or email them to ask. Here, they might specifically state an immigration requirement or a citizenship requirement, and they might say you need to be a U.S. citizen, U.S. national, legal permanent resident. You might need to be undocumented or DACA-mented, right? Or they use vague language that we introduced in our last presentation of eligible non-citizen, ineligible non-citizen, right? Or they might not state an immigration or citizenship requirement at all, right? In which case, it's open to everyone. Academic requirements. So this is where you also need to pay attention to, but it's also very broad in what the requirements might be. A lot of them, just as the basis of selection, they'll ask you for your GPA, right? Some will say applicants with a 2.5 and above, please apply. Others will go up 3.0, 3.5. Some might say 4.0, right? Some scholarship opportunities might not ask you for any GPA requirement. Those are like very equitable, very accessible opportunities, so shout out to them. Others might be more specific. They'll want you to list your weighted GPA. So your GPAs that might go above a 4.0 scale because of academic rigor. Some might specifically ask for your unweighted GPA, the ones that are traditionally from 1 to 4. Some of them will ask you to provide your transcript, like 0.2, so that they can recalculate your GPA. Some very big and competitive opportunities might ask you for your midway transcript, which is the one that you typically get in December. Some of them will ask you for your final transcript, the one you get after you graduate. Some of them are okay with you submitting your unofficial or may require your official transcript. An unofficial transcript might be like the one that you get already sent in the mail that you can simply scan and upload. Official ones might be the ones that your counselor specifically upload to a portal or that you get in a sealed envelope and you ship off to the correct address, right? 3, exam scores. Some, especially competitive opportunities, do ask you for your scores. It's traditionally SAT and ACT. Some might even go out on a limb and ask you for your PSAT or AP exam scores if they truly have a competitive pool. 4, similar to your college applications, many of them will have essay requirements that tends to be the main vehicle through which they assess applications. So regardless of the category, regardless of who the opportunities for, essays are one of the simplest ways for scholarship providers to select their recipients. 5, some might require you to do letters of recommendation. Similar to college applications, they might specifically say core subject teachers or counselors. So you'll need to make sure you get it from your math, science, language, arts, or literature, social studies, and history or foreign language teachers. In this situation, your art teacher or music teacher might not be the teachers to ask. Some might not specify specific subjects, and they're just like a teacher recommendation letter. 6, resumes. Some of them might ask you for resumes. Not a lot of them do. These could be resumes where you focus in on your academics, you mention your extracurriculars, or you like name drop any work employment or work experience you have throughout your high school career. For a lot of you who might not have work experience, these are moments where you can highlight like informal moments of leadership. Do you babysit for your siblings? Do you tutor kids in your neighborhood? Things like that. Next slide. Other expectations can include interviews, whether those are video, virtual, or in person. Depending on the category of scholarships, you might need to submit projects, written samples, art portfolios, skill assessments like doing music interviews or music tryouts. Some might ask you for additional documentation if like they're need-based. They might ask you for your student aid report, which is something that you get after submitting your FAFSA. They might ask you for a copy of your tax returns. They might even ask you just for proof of like your family's income. 4, this is where sometimes students don't pay attention to the fine details. Some of them might require you attend a recognition event, a dinner, or even a leadership summit. And these tend to be like things that you really do need to uphold and see through because you may lose your opportunity at the end. This is one of the ways that scholarship providers can like talk to their funders and make sure that these opportunities continue to exist by connecting you to them, right? So you want to pay attention to even those fine details. Next slide. So we'll walk through this as an example. This is a scholarship called Alcanzando un Sueño. It's a scholarship fund offered by Cruz and Associates. In this case, this opportunity closes on May 15th of 2023. Scan this QR code and access the video directly. So now that you're on the website or after you watch this video, right, you'll notice that these are the basic requirements for this opportunity. And as you read through it, right, you don't need to read all of it. You just need to skim for the key things you need to know whether this opportunity is good for you or not. 1, reside in Atlanta or the Phoenix area, right? Be in 12th grade, graduate in the spring term of this year, be of Hispanic descent, must be bilingual, have a cumulative GPA of a 3.0, submit an official transcript, complete and legible scholarship application, submit an essay, submit a resume, 2 letters of recommendation, letter of acceptance, you must submit a photo, meet the deadline of May 15th, and then attend a scholarship dinner, right? All of your scholarship applications might have lengthy pages like this or lengthy descriptions. Pay attention to the key details. Highlight, bold wherever possible so it's easier for you to process the information. So now we'll talk about figuring out your profile, making sure you ask yourself the right questions so you can do targeted research. So here, when you start the process right, Scholarship 360 is going to be an amazing resource for you. If you check them out, they have a lot of articles and blog posts to help you navigate this process. But key questions you want to ask yourself is like, what grade am I applying in, right? Am I a junior? Am I a senior? When am I trying to go to college? When am I trying to major in? What are my career interests? What am I already involved in within and outside of my high school? What do I like to do in my free time? What do my parents do for a living? What state do I live in? What state am I trying to go to college in? And then am I a member of a minority group? What colleges am I specifically applying to? Ask yourself these questions. They might feel silly, sound silly, but it truly does give you a bunch of key phrases like you can see on this diagram that help you do targeted research. You can look for opportunities that are for Latinos, for math students interested in math or computer science, for students who are LGBTQIA+, who are in NHS, Georgia students who are athletic, and things like that. So once you have that student profile, you can start figuring out what categories of scholarships might be the easiest for you to research and focus your time and energy on. So here, I'm going to briefly, it's one slide, folks, highlight a bunch of amazing resources for you. It's really up to you to determine which ones work best for what you're looking for, but I do encourage you to explore them all. For folks in Georgia, Georgia Futures will be your go-to place. They do have a scholarship search page, so it'll help you navigate opportunities. Their team's an amazing job of researching opportunities that are still open and relevant to you. CFNC actually does the same, and they do in this scholarship search engine, they do include highlights on their state aid, financial aid scholarship opportunities. Now, here's a quick list of websites that are amazing for you to use, right? There's Career One Stop, which is funded by the US Department of Labor, fastweb.com, which might be one of the ones you already know, but all those on the list are what are called scholarship search engines, or just platforms that builds list for you so that they meet the demographics that you're interested in exploring, or match the key phrases you're looking for. Resources for non-citizen students. MALDEF Scholarship Guide, if you look them up, they're an amazing organization that builds a scholarship PDF booklet. And then Immigrant Risings has a scholarship engine that shows you opportunities that are open within the next 80 days that are truly open to students regardless of US citizenship. They offer the opportunity to filter through a variety of different demographic and interest areas. Now, when in the search process, please keep in mind the following things. Okay. Organization is the very big thing that you need to focus on, because as you submit a lot of these applications, you don't want to have to redo work or lose files or lose essay responses that you've already done the work for. So make sure you keep a copy of any unofficial transcripts, any report cards you have in case any of the opportunities you apply to allow for you to be the one that submits them. Keep a draft of your student resume. Keep a copy of any brag sheets that you give to teachers for letters of recommendation. Build a list of teachers or individuals who would write you a letter of recommendation. Having a good list of maybe 5 to 6 people in case your first 3 say no or cannot write you one by a certain deadline. Keep copies of your exam scores, PSAT, ACT, SAT, and AP, in case you can upload those or self-report. Copies of any essays you've written in your language arts or literature classes. A lot of those essays, in particular in your junior and senior year, are intended to help you prepare for your college applications and scholarship applications. So you might just be able to reuse some of those. As you work on scholarship essays, do the same. Keep copies of them so you can modify them to meet what the prompts are. Don't just copy and paste a random response to a random topic. Make sure it actually meets the question. And then lastly, create a simple scholarship tracking sheet. You can do it like on Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Google Spreadsheets, and just keep the basic information that you need: scholarship name, the URL, any contact information, and the basic requirements that we covered in the first section of academic initial eligibilities and things like that. So our last section for today's presentation on scholarships is this portion where we're going to parse through noteworthy scholarship opportunities for you. Please note, like I previously mentioned, there will be a lot of content, a lot that I'll parse through, but you can feel free to pause and read through what's most important, which are the requirements for potential applicants for each of these opportunities. I will just be reading through the descriptions for who all these scholarship providers are. So the first program we're going to start with today is a program that I love and I really enjoy when my students apply. It is the QuestBridge National College Match Program. They have a similar program for students who are juniors. It's called the College Prep Program, which allows you insight into what their selection process is like and offers you an entirely separate experience. But what's really important for you to know is that the QuestBridge National College Match Program can really be your pathway to a top college or university in the US. In particular, if you are a student who is a limited or low income background, who is a high achieving academic student, and who really wants to focus in their time and energy on getting in as many applications for free as they possibly can to colleges across the United States. These might include some colleges that are in your state or just across the country. Please pay attention to the scholarship requirements on the screen. And as you read through these, I want to highlight that this is an opportunity that is open to undocumented students or students who may be considered ineligible non-citizens, as mentioned in our second presentation of this fair. This means that as long as you are graduating from a U.S. high school and you are currently living in the U.S., you are able to attend. If you are an international student who's graduating from a program outside of the US, unfortunately, you would not be eligible to apply to this amazing opportunity. But please do explore the rest that we will cover today. Now, the Posse Foundation Scholarship. Now, that's the scholarship that I went to college on. So I'm a little bit biased. They're amazing. They're set up similar to the QuestBridge College Match Program in terms of the resources and opportunities that you'd be eligible for. The main difference between these two opportunities is that the Posse Foundation Scholarship is a full tuition scholarship opportunity to particular sets of colleges, and it's not a full ride like QuestBridge. The process is equally as selective, equally as competitive, and it still connects you to amazing colleges and universities without having to pay a college application fee. But what's really important here that sets them apart is that they recruit from particular cities. So, for example, they recruit from the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, Miami, New York, and Boston. And for each of these areas that they're recruiting from, they are trying to connect you to colleges and universities in different parts of the US. So, for example, here in Atlanta, I went to the College of Worcester directly through the scholarship, but other colleges that I could have better positioned myself for would have been Boston University, George Washington University, Bard College, Brandeis University, and Texas A&M. What's really important for you to know is that unlike QuestBridge, where you can take the initiative to self-apply, this scholarship opportunity in particular is on a nomination basis. So you have to ask your high school counselor if they would be able to nominate you for this opportunity or connect with community-based organizations like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, or HOPE to see if we would be able to nominate you as a CBO. You do need to live and reside in one of the recruitment cities in order to be eligible for the opportunity. So, for example, if you live in Savannah, Georgia, you are unfortunately too far away to be able to take advantage of this opportunity because there are requirements for you to visit the home office for all of these posse locations. But it is an amazing opportunity. You can check out the full list of colleges that they partner with to see that a lot of them are actually the same institutions that are offering QuestBridge or other equally as amazing opportunities, but every recruitment city has their own 4 to 6 partner colleges. Now, the Coca-Cola Scholars Program, a broad program that offers 3 amazing opportunities. Please make sure to read through the applicant requirements because you need to complete all of them and meet them all. But it's really important to know that these opportunities, whether it's any one of the 3, they are all achievement-based scholarships awarded to graduating high school students. Students are recognized for their capacity to leave and serve and work within their community and make a commitment to leave a significant impact in those around them. So they've specifically worked together to offer more than $3.55 million over the past couple of years to their amazing scholars. Now, the Gates Scholarship. This is an amazing opportunity that just has very early deadlines. So it's one of the reasons why you need to start your research and start your search process as soon as you can. The Gates Scholarship is a last dollar scholarship. In what that means is that they will literally cover whatever is left over after your financial aid package. So they'll cover the gap after federal and state financial aid after university scholarships and grants. Whether that's $500, $2,000, they will try to match that so that they can cover what remains. Here, this is an opportunity that, unlike QuestBridge, unlike Posse, that are open to immigrant students who may be ineligible non-citizens. The Gates Scholarships, you specifically need to be a U.S. citizen, a U.S. national, or permanent resident. Highly competitive opportunity, so you do need to have that required GPA requirement, and you need to be already eligible for the federal Pell Grant. So it is an opportunity specifically for students from low or limited income backgrounds. The HSF scholarship, it's one of those amazing opportunities that I mentioned earlier, right? That they are for a specific target demographic, but being of a particular demographic is not the sole determining factor on whether or not you get it. So this amazing opportunity is for Hispanic and Latino students, but they do have both academic and leadership requirements, right? As you're going through the application, they do want to see that minimum GPA. They do want to see and learn more about you and the context of you being a student and outside of a student as you complete the application. This is an opportunity that is open to students who have DACA at the moment, but not if you are undocumented or any of the other ineligible non-citizen categories. So please make sure that you read through these applicant requirements, and that if you are eligible for it, that you submit your FAFSA or state-based financial aid forms, because they do try to cover as much as they can. The awards range between $500 to $5,000, but it all depends on their funding available. Right here on the screen, you'll see a student with the Georgia flag in the back. That is one of our amazing interns. His name is Justin Acosta. So I'm really happy. He's been one of the students who has gotten the HSF scholarships quite a few times now throughout their college career. Now, this slide, trust me, I know it's a lot of words, but that's because there's 2 amazing scholarship opportunities for undocumented students. The requirements for both of them are similar, but there are a few distinctions. So the Dream.us Foundation offers the Opportunity Scholarship and the National Scholarship. These are 2 scholarship opportunities that it depends on what state you live in, that you can learn which of the 2 or both that you become eligible for. For example, here in Georgia, if you're an undocumented student and you go to their website, select Georgia, it'll let you know that you're eligible for both. In certain states, it'll offer you one or the other, but not both. And in some states, it might encourage you to apply to other amazing programs that are state specific to you. But here, the Opportunity Scholarship can cover up to a maximum of $80,000 at one of their partner institutions. So Christian Brothers University, Delaware State University, Dominican University, Eastern Connecticut State, and Trinity Washington University. For example, if you don't reside in the states where these colleges are, you would be an out-of-state student traveling to these universities, but it would cover the majority, if not all, of your total cost of attendance at these institutions. The National Scholarship, on the other end, they tend to be for partner colleges in the state that you reside in. So, for example, here in Georgia, they would cover upwards of $16,000 for an associate's degree or $33,000 for a bachelor's degree. And here in Georgia, it's Oglethorpe University that you would be attending and that you would need to make sure you apply to. And in North Carolina, which is our other example state, it would be Wingate University. Off on the right-hand side, you'll see the long list of requirements. The things that you can know that apply to both are what's in bolded. So the first 3 points is that you be an undocumented student who came to the U.S. before November 1st of 2017 and have continuously lived in the U.S. since then, or have DACA or TPS, that you came to the United States before the age of 16. It's important to note, like I've mentioned, right, if an opportunity is not for you, please don't apply. In this case, if you are a U.S. citizen, this opportunity is not for you, even though you've been here since the age of 16. And that you have significant unmet financial need. This amazing opportunity tries to cover any gaps in your educational costs, but they also do encourage you to apply to other opportunities to help offset the costs of your education. Those 3 requirements are the same for both opportunities. What follows those 3 bolded opportunities from the live-in and have graduated or will graduate from a high school all the way down to intend to relocate are relevant to the Opportunity Scholarship. Below the line that says or, all those requirements are applicable to the National Scholarship. But if that's a little bit too confusing to process, just make sure to check out their website at thedream.us, and they will more clearly, more efficiently communicate the requirements to you. Now, the Golden Doors Scholarship. It's similar to the Dream.us. They're amazing partners that both work collectively to create opportunities for students who may otherwise be considered ineligible non-citizens. For the Golden Doors Scholarships, as long as you have DACA or have TPS, which is temporary protective status, or an undocumented student, you would be eligible for this amazing opportunity. Make sure to just read through the rest of their applicant requirements. What's really important to note here is that they do have a set list of partner colleges, similar to the Dream.us, that has their own set list of partner colleges. The Golden Doors, though, allows you on a case-by-case basis, so not 100% guaranteed, to help cover similar costs at other universities that they don't necessarily partner with. So, for example, I work with an amazing student who attends Berry College in Rome, Georgia here. Berry College is not necessarily a partner of the Golden Door Scholarship, but on a case-by-case basis, she got approved and receives partial funding from the Golden Doors organization to cover her education. So it's an amazing opportunity. Make sure to check it out. I believe this is the last opportunity we'll highlight for today, but there's so many more. Make sure to check out our website to learn more. Here in Georgia in particular, this amazing opportunity called the Goizeta Foundation Endowed Scholarship, which actually goes by a little different name depending on the college you're looking at, is an opportunity created by the Goizeta Foundation that created endowed scholarships, which means like there's a pot of money sitting in a bunch of colleges across Georgia and the Southeast so that they can create scholarships specifically for Hispanic and or Latino students, undocumented and or documented students, and or Spanish-speaking students. These 3 different kind of sentences here are very, very broad because every college and university that has received this funding has the discretion to create the eligibility criteria that they need to serve the students that they have enrolled. So some colleges allow undocumented and DACA students to apply. Most colleges focus on Hispanic and Latinos explicitly, and then some colleges allow students, regardless of ethnic heritage, that speak Spanish to also apply. So it really depends on the college or university. If you go to the Goizeta Foundation Endowed Scholarships page, you'll find a full list of all the colleges in Georgia and across the Southeast that have some sort of scholarship under the Goizeta name. Here in Georgia, just 3 examples of the many colleges that have this would be Kennesaw State University, Georgia State University, the University of Georgia, and Georgia Tech. So like I mentioned, that was our last opportunity for today. This is just a few, but I promise you there's so many opportunities out there for you, but it's just a matter of, 1, understanding who you are as a student, right? Creating your student profile, focusing on those key basic initial eligibility and academic criteria that you'll need for each opportunity, keeping yourself organized so you can hone in not only your research, but also your efforts on finding the opportunities that can help you cover the cost of your education. So thank you for joining us. Like I mentioned, my name is Cesar. You can check out our website here at www.leadwithhope.org, and you'll be able to access information under our education page for scholarship resources, resources for immigrant students, more information on the Hope Legacy Scholarship if you happen to be a student involved in our after-school program, and access to information on how to get one-on-one advising for free, bilingual, Spanish and English over Zoom. So please make sure to check it out. And then if you have a question that we weren't able to answer today, please make sure to email info@hopestrong.org. Thank you for joining me today.